Show of hands. Who here sends surveys to customers? All right. Question Pro, off to a good start. All right. Show of hands. Who here does not struggle to get replies from their customers? You don't survey customers. I'm kidding. All right. Okay. So I saw a stat yesterday. 2%. That's the global average for responding to customer surveys. 2%. 80% of customers say that they are overwhelmed by surveys, they over-surveyed, they got survey fatigue. I'd like to know how they got that information. Did they survey that? On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to fill out a survey? Yeah, I don't know. All right, anyway. There's a clicker here. Right. This is me. It's an older photo, I apologize. I've been in CX for about 17 odd years. It might look a bit longer, but that's how long it's been. I specialize in voice of customer, insights, etc. Something I didn't put up there is I'm a black belt in JKA karate, which is a very handy tool when it comes to trying to influence people and negotiate, etc. But that's me. Come on. All right. If you want to take a photo, if you just want 3 things to take out of this talk today, just 3 things. These are them. Usman, why is the screen so high? I like to point. Know your journeys intimately. They can either cost you money or they can make you money. You need to know every single pimple, every single mole, and every single hair on the body of your journeys to make sense of customer feedback. One metric is not good enough. Debbie, NPS. Sometimes, if you rely on one metric, you could confuse customer success with dumb luck. And thirdly, benchmark wisely. This is the most important part because the world has changed and your competitors are not who you think they are. So I wouldn't be a very good customer experience person if I didn't start a presentation with a story or a quote. The good news is I got both for you. So I like to run. I know, mad. And this is a photo I took in the estate that I live in. And you can quite clearly see there's a beautiful paved path that leads off there, and then there's this sort of non-verbal feedback that the estate is receiving from pedestrians. We as organizations tend to make this mistake. We build a journey. Look at this beautiful journey that we've built. Aesthetically pleasing. It fits with the aesthetic of the estate. It's probably comfortable to walk on. It gets customers where they need to go. Pedestrians, they're going that way or they're going that way. And we ask our customers, what do you think of our path? Look, it's beautiful. Is it not beautiful? Yes, very beautiful, very beautiful. Right, tick. Beautiful path. Does it get you where you need to go? Yeah, no, I mean, it goes in the right direction, generally speaking. So, tick, absolutely, 100%. Is it aesthetically pleasing? Does it fit with the aesthetics of the estate? Yeah, no, it's quite pretty. It's quite pretty. All right, check. We did a good job, guys. We built a journey that's beautiful, gets customers where they want to go, and it's aesthetically pleasing. And then this happens. And as businesses, we kind of stand there scratching our heads going, but customers told us that our path is beautiful. But the problem is we ask the wrong questions. We ask customers our questions. We designed this journey for what we think customers want. And if you ask customers what they want, it's the most dangerous question you can ever ask. You've got to ask what customers need. And to your point about personas, understanding customers, the people who are using these paths are the caretakers, the domestic workers, the gardeners, the nannies, etc., whose sole need is to get to work as quickly as possible, even if it means saving 30 seconds from walking around our path there. So there's two paths, excuse the pun, that my estate could have taken. They could have gone, we built you a beautiful path, you will use the beautiful path. Put up barricades, keep off the grass, maybe paint some footprints and arrows on the path to say, you go and use this journey that we have made for you. Customer education. Obviously, customers don't know how to use our services and our products. We must educate customers. But customers are telling us that our things don't work for them. So, my estate did the most customer-centric thing ever. Okay, they didn't plant new grass. This photo was just taken a lot later, after the rains we had. But they paved the path. They conceded the fact that, yes, well, the customer's need is to get down there as quickly as possible, and they're going to, if we put up a barricade, they're going to walk around the barricade. If we put up a sign to say, stay off the grass, they're not going to stay off the grass. So let's just build them a road to where they need to go. We need to have this mentality when we're thinking about our journeys. We need to understand that our journeys can either have pain points that will cost us money, or they will have moments of truth that will make us money. And the point of CX, from a business perspective, is making sure that those moments of truth that make us money are pleasurable for customers to repeat. That is how we, as customer experience people, prove our worth to the C-suite. That's what changes the conversations in the boardroom from, oh God, those CX people again, to, okay, how much do you need? Oh, too quick. Come on. So, and I promised you a quote. Here's a quote. And CX people love this quote. We love it. You know, if Henry Ford, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. Actually, there's no evidence that Henry Ford actually said that, by the way. I don't know who attributed that to him. In fact, Henry Ford's indifference towards the customer experience is actually well documented. He was more focused on efficient manufacturing processes and not on the customer experience. But the principle still stands. It's a great quote, even though Henry Ford didn't really say it. So one metric. How many of you out there, show of hands, how many of you measure customer experience in one metric? Don't be embarrassed. Okay. But I see nods. Okay. NPS. Oh, love it. There is no one metric to rule them all. So this is the best illustration. So we can ask our customers, are you happy? Will you recommend us to friends and family? Yeah. No, overall I'm happy. He's smiling. He's got a nice cup of coffee. I mean, there's nothing here that suggests to us that anything is out of place. But anybody who knows this picture, those eyes tell a different story. Poor Harold there. He's okay overall, but he really could stand to lose a bit of weight. And his teeth are sensitive to hot drinks. I don't know who gave him the cup of coffee. And his neighbors annoy him. This is where the gold is. Debbie was talking about data. We really need to dig deep into our data. And we need to ask the right questions and understand. It's like building a puzzle, right? I think you used the analogy as well. Have you ever tried to build a puzzle without the box? No, I can't even build a 5-piece puzzle without a box. But it's like building a puzzle without a box. If you don't know what you're building, how are you going to make sense of the data to begin with? Dig deep, find out why. So we need to look inside and out, right? And customer experience people are really good at talking about the 3 pillars of voice of customer, or the 3 pillars of customer feedback. Voice of customer, voice of employee, voice of process. Yeah? Okay. I get a lot of flack for this. I get a lot of hate, but it's a hill that I am absolutely prepared to die on. there's a fourth one, and that's business performance. How are we, as customer experience people, reducing costs, improving revenue and profit, and improving efficiency? That is the core of return on investment. And that is the core of proving your worth to the C-suite. If you can go to the C-suite and say, my customer experience strategy, my voice of customer framework is going to help you save 210 million rand a year, he's going to listen. He's going to listen. She, he, whoever. But as organizations, we tend to focus on voice of customer. So we'll send a survey. Maybe we'll get a response. We'll send some more surveys. Maybe we'll get another response. We don't get too many responses. So, okay, we'll do it quarterly. We'll try and build up the samples, etc. But that's only one piece of the puzzle. We also look at our internal KPIs, our processes. We're very good at measuring processes. Time on hold, turnaround time, first call resolution, all very good. Very good things that they show us our processes are working. Our voice of customer, our surveys are telling us we're on the right path. But we fall victim to not giving our employees enough airtime to give us the information that they have in their heads, because they face customers on a daily basis. They deal with our processes on a daily basis. They themselves have found their own ways around our processes to deliver on customer success. Why aren't we speaking to them a little bit more? Why aren't we including that in our dashboards and in our annual reports? Because that is real gold over there. And I think it's not very... I did a very good job at graying that out. But business performance. How are we contributing to the bottom line? Again, I get a lot of hate for saying this, but as customer experience people, if we are not being measured on the same business performance metrics as the rest of the business, cost to acquire, customer lifetime value, profit, revenue, etc., what are you doing? Are you measuring NPS just to see if somebody might talk about you around the braai? That's not adding business value, and that's actually not going to bring any credibility to anything that you do, which is why we always find ourselves having conversations like, oh, I always got to fight to justify myself. I always got to fight to get more budget. I've always got to fight because they cut my budget this year. ROI, it's the Achilles heel of customer experience programs. Talk, rands, and cents. Data, data, data. And thanks, Debbie, for driving that point home, because we don't use data enough. We rely on too few metrics. I like this quote, and I like to say clever things because I hang around with clever people, and I just say what they say. But this was Dr. Serena de Beer from Ask Africa when they were talking about the Orange Index reports a couple of weeks ago. And she said, if you only focus on the number, you'll never understand why you won, and this can blind you to the fact that sometimes you just get lucky. And I think in South Africa, there are loads of examples of big, successful organizations that deliver a horrible customer experience, but they are incredibly profitable because maybe they got lucky. Maybe they're a monopoly. Maybe they're the only one to offer the service or products to South Africans. But those same companies are at as high a risk to fall as they are to make a little bit more money on the balance sheet every year. My last point, benchmark wisely. So technology has democratized experience. It's ubiquitized experience. Anybody can order something from 6060 and have it delivered in less than 60 minutes. I mean, can anybody here remember the days when we used to place an order during COVID for our Woolies order, and they would say 3 to 5 working days? And you're sitting there busy eating your last crust from your stale Albany bread because Woolies can't get you on time. I mean, the Dash is fantastic now. Well done, Woolies, if you're here. It's a great service. But 60/60 definitely has to set the benchmark. Your competitors are not who you think they are. If you are a retail bank, I can guarantee you that at least 4, 5, maybe all, maybe even more of these logos on the screen are now your competitors. If you are a retail outfit, if you are a financial services or an insurance provider, your experiences are being measured against the experiences that come from brands like this and many others, ones who have embraced technology and who have really digitized their experiences. So benchmarking wisely, we share our customers. A retail bank customer also has, their customers also have Netflix subscriptions. They also buy from 60/60. They might buy from Amazon and from Takealot. They might drive a BMW or a Haval or something. So the very last good experience that they had with that brand that may or may not be your traditional competitor will set the benchmark for the next experience that they have. So if I have a great experience with 60/60 delivering my almond milk and Future Life in 25 minutes, why can't my bank deliver my card in the same amount of time? Any banks here? No? Okay. So your experience is relative. And now all of a sudden, once we cast that net a lot wider and we start benchmarking ourselves against potentially more innovative organizations and companies out there, we realize that maybe in our traditional sense, we may be number one. We're the top, we're the best, we're the industry leader. But if we take a step back and we look, we might actually be number 99 in the greater scheme of things, because your experiences as a retail bank, for argument's sake, are being measured alongside the experiences of a retail delivery service or a subscription service, etc. So just remember that. Your competitors are not who you think they are. And I think that is the end of my song and dance. Oh, I'm going to stop the mic. Thank you very much. Any questions? I'm not that scary.
Hi. I really like what you were saying about, not just taking the voice of the customer in terms of customer experience, but also speaking to your staff in terms of staff experience, because, if your staff is having a good time, they're likely to give your customers, I guess a good time. That sounds so strange. But my question to you is, have you had an experience where now you are engaged in helping an organization speak to the staff about the customer experience and having that feedback loop, and also the role that incentives play, right, in the customer experience, and how we can manage or negate, if I service this customer, I have a higher incentive and therefore more incentivized to be a better person versus for another customer. If you can give just an example or a case study that you've dealt with.
Yeah, good story. Good question. So there's two case studies that sort of popped to mind straight away. The first one was I worked for a large retail bank who had a problem, and I'm sure a lot of people in this room probably had the same problem. Their voice of customer report, their customer feedback report, says the same thing today that it did for the last 3 years. Hasn't changed. Feedback's always the same. Fees are too high, turnaround time's too high, employees are rude, whatever the case is. So that should be your first warning. So this retail bank had this exact problem. Feedback that didn't change. And it was the same feedback constantly. And the CSat score never went up. The NPS score kind of, it was positive, but, positive 1, positive 50, I don't know, it's positive, up and down. And for the first time, they decided to tap their frontline staff to go, you guys know the problems. You speak to these customers on a daily basis. Let's identify the core issues and and sort those out. So workshops were had. It was great. We were building Legos. We were throwing Post-its all over the walls. It was fantastic. But at the end of the day, we had a plan. And we had a plan with concrete steps. We need to sort 1 out. We need to sort 2 out. We need to sort 3 out. Because in the process, because everybody knew what was going on, they could tie the things together to say, well, actually, this problem over here is the source of these 5 problems here. And if we just make that one problem go away, those 5 sources would go away. And so there was a sort of a change management program that went into place that got employees to own it. So not only, thanks for the idea, we'll go off, end of story. It was, okay, you've got the ideas. We are going to give you the budget. We're going to give you the resources. We're going to give you the time to do this. And you will get the recognition for it at the end of the day. Not just verbal recognition, but financial recognition as well. That not only motivated people to get involved, because at the beginning, and I'm sure we all experienced this, if we go and we say to employees, give us your ideas, and they're very good at giving ideas, and then nothing happens to the ideas. Because, well, they've got other jobs to do. They've got other fish to fry, right? So it was a concerted effort. And once they saw that concerted effort coming from the top, it really helped drive that engagement, etc. So that was the first one. The second project was around asking our staff to rate their engagements with our customers. So it's one thing for a customer to go, yes, I spoke to Nick, he was so rude on the phone, and he just couldn't answer my calls, and blah, 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 and then a QA process kicked off, and then we had to listen to the calls, and blah. But we actually got staff to rate the interactions that they had with customers. And that gave us a very interesting look into their mindsets and into where they were and their perceptions about the interaction, because you might have found that in the mind of the customer, the issue was not resolved. But in the minds of the employee, it was resolved because I did everything within my power that I've been enabled to do and empowered to do. So that was very interesting, and that helped bridge not only a training gap, but also a knowledge gap, and also a perception gap. So yeah, I hope that's. Oh wait, you had a question down here first.
We have time for one more. Marsha, we'll let you fire back.
Sorry, I do speak a lot. But we can talk afterwards if you...
So I wanted to find out on benchmarking correctly. How do you convince the organization that benchmarking doesn't necessarily mean you have to benchmark against another revenue collection service? So for instance, if the strategic intent is to reduce the number of feet at a branch, locally within the same customer type, you can benchmark against your F&Bs, against your, not Capitec. You can benchmark against other companies locally that have gone through the same journey to try and reduce the long queues and the number without necessarily going to the UK, because a different customer base, different understanding of what it means to adopt technology. So how do you convince executives that benchmarking does not mean that you have to go outside for an organization like a revenue collection?
So when you say outside, like different countries?
Yes,
or,
like
okay,
going
right.
to Australia.
Yeah.
So the customer base in Australia or the UK is very different, and the
100%.
challenges that they face is very different from what we face in South Africa. And if we are saying the strategic intent, I'm just using an example of reducing the long queues, right? Why must we go to the UK when we can go to other local companies who've applied some strategies within their operations to do exactly the same, and we're looking at more or less the same customer type or persona?
So there are models that sort of can cluster companies together based on experience rather than market segment. I won't go into those now because they're quite complicated. But if we adopt the mindset that experiences are shared across multiple organizations, and that my last good experience is the benchmark for my next experience, irrespective of the organization that I'm dealing with, that's a good first start. Your strategic imperatives, your goals, what are the pain points you're trying to eliminate? There are similarities. So, for example, you're talking about queues at a branch, for argument's sake. There are similarities between standing in a queue at a branch, of a bank branch, and standing in a queue at Checkers. And then you can look at what Checkers did to try and alleviate those queues through really quick deliveries, through convenient apps, etc. So when you cast your net wider, it's very, very important to understand what is it you're trying to achieve first. Because you might benchmark yourself in a branch scenario or a physical channel scenario against another bank or a revenue collection center or a retail outfit, for argument's sake. But then for another step of that journey, you might want to benchmark yourself against a subscription service. It all really depends on what your goals are and what are those pain points you're trying to alleviate. But once you get that mindset, once you understand that experiences have been democratized, and that's a tough conversation to have because it's very new thinking. It's very, very new thinking. But you only have to have that conversation once. So I hope that answers your question.